It's important that we sort of remain vigilant and everybody's working together to sort of, improve our stance on AI, innovation, and where we're actually going in that field so that we can protect citizens, we can protect everybody.
According to statistics in the cybersecurity, 90% of security breaches are caused by human error. We encourage people not to share too much on social media. If you must share, limit what you share on social media. That's the things, the content you put out there, that's what they use to create the deepfake against you or against anybody. Zero trust. Don't trust. If you must trust, verify before you trust.
We need to get our houses in order to make sure that we are set up for this. But, educating and having people understand the pitfalls of these issues and to be cognizant of that is very important.
Thank you so much, everyone. So my name is Andrea Knoblauch. I'm a principal for security at Softchoice, which is part of Worldwide Technology. I've been in security over 20 years. I specialize in zero trust. So this is an area, obviously, of security that has become so important. And when you think about how do we put zero trust in all these different areas of data security and these modern day threats. So super excited to be here. I'm going to share if you want to introduce yourself.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been, I think, in MIT and cybersecurity for probably longer than some people have been on this planet. So that's a thing. But I've spent a lot of time in the federal government, primarily in cybersecurity since about 2004. I've also done a little bit of work with the government of BC, and I've done some really cool work being in the military and in the Army for 21 and a half years. So I got to go and travel to some amazing places, working with some fantastic people and seeing a lot of different things. So, I think that sort of set us up for all of these unpredictability situations that are happening as we evolve through innovation and AI and technology. So it's definitely been a wonderful career, and I'm so happy to be here today.
Great. Maryam, would you like to introduce yourself?
All right, so I was at the backstage. I could not join, so I was able to get another link to join now. So are we live?
Yes.
All right, so good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending from where you're listening from. My name is Maryam Shuaibu Aliyu, cybersecurity trainer and specialist, and also the founder of Cyberbpo. Cyberbpo is a platform where I train and mentor women, most especially women from the northern part of Nigeria. And I also help and advocate for cybersecurity awareness across schools in Nigeria, most to be precise, Kano State. So thank you so much.
Wonderful. So let's dive right in. We've got a short period of time. So when you think about deepfakes and AI technology, this is something that we're seeing a lot of organizations and even governments kind of lean in on. I want to talk about some of the key things that we're seeing around the issues and the impacts of this. It's funny, this morning I was actually reading a statistic that voice phishing alone, surged 442% in 2024. Like, that's insane when you think about just the growth and how quick malicious actors are really leaning into this new technology that, maybe 3 years ago, we didn't really think about AI and kind of these types of impacts. And then seeing such widespread adoption, being it from nation state, be it from, folks who are trying to leverage AI in order to either be malicious or maybe just augment their jobs. I would love to talk about, because we've got both you, Sherry and Maryam, coming from different government type of backgrounds and seeing what your governments are doing. Maybe I'll kick this to you, Sherry, first. How big of an issue are you seeing this at the nation style level?
Well, I think that right now, I think AI innovation, disinformation campaigns and political campaigns I think are very much on the rise. And as a result of that, I think that there's many governments, including our own, that are definitely taking notice of that and starting to look at what kind of actionable items that they can actually put forward. And I think that that rings pretty true with the Minister of AI and digital innovation. I think it's digital innovation that was actually named yesterday. So I think that that talks a lot about the seriousness of what Canada is actually doing. And then there's also been a lot of bills and foreign influence acts that have been basically, approved and put into, I guess, in government in Canada over the last couple of years. And I think that that is a very important thing because we see a lot of disinformation campaigns, foreign influence. We see a lot of, I think that we will say synthetic, digital content out there. And as we progress with, technology, we also progress with very sophisticated style of, disinformation and other types of campaigns that are malicious in a lot of cases and are there to actually influence governments, industry, and everybody else as much as they possibly can. So as a result of that, I think that not only Canada, but I mean, many countries around the world are probably taking notice of that. And it's important that we sort of remain vigilant and everybody's working together to sort of, improve our stance on AI, innovation, and where we're actually going in that field so that we can protect citizens, we can protect everybody, globally, because I think that this is becoming quite a big issue right now. And I mean, I think I have one stat for you. I was going to just bring it up here real quick, and that is that 90% of online content may be synthetically generated by 2026. So 90%. So every single thing that we see, we have to question: is this real, or is this generated through AI?
That's crazy.
Absolutely. Okay. So when we talk of AI, we know disinformation now is real, from fake videos, fake photos, everything. Here in Nigeria, I think of 2 years back, we had an election. And before the election, we saw when people were putting out fake generated news that did not even happen. And this led a lot of people to fall into that trap. And they were not able to verify whether it's real or not real. And I'm very sure this caused a lot of problem. Those that are supposed to be in the arms of government were not able to be in the arms of government due to the fake news and the fake photos and images that were just going up and down. And people thought that, okay, maybe it's real. Why it's not real? I think AI has come, it has a negative side and it has the positive side, but I think people are using it more of the negative side, and it's causing a lot of harm than good. And I think government, you need to come into play. What I normally say, I say there should be more of awareness. If you don't train people, you don't blame them when they fall into trap of something of AI, of negativity. So I think we need to, the government needs to play in, they need to bring and play a critical role in this AI generation of a thing. And I think the government so far, they're trying the best possible best, because of recent, the Nigerian government just passed an act on digital cybercrime and technology, which I think is going to go a very long way. And it's something that we're still looking at, but I hope it's going to a long way. But with the AI, a lot of things, deepfake, fake news, fake videos, generated videos are on the rise, and we just have to keep an eye on that. So thank you, sir.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Now, while I admit I don't work so much in the government space, obviously I work with some government agencies, just thinking about it from the private sector, there's a lot of inquiries around, what are some of the different things that we can do to help combat this, or at least make it more visible so that, we have an easier time to verify that the information we're dealing with, the people that we're dealing with, these things are legitimate. And maybe it's like cryptographic identity checks. Maybe it's, making sure that we've got secure devices and that we're only, interacting with people that have been verified or devices that have been verified. Building visible trust indicators. Hell, maybe it's even just putting your hand in front of your face to say, like, this is an actual person and not a filter. But I'm
Yeah.
curious about, like, how are your governments really thinking about this, and what are some of maybe the more tangible steps or things that are starting to be discussed from a how do we tackle this on a larger scale basis? Sherry, maybe we'll start with you.
Well, I'm not going to speak from the government perspective. I mean, of course, because there's a lot of things happening. But I mean, from my own personal perspective, I think that we have to be a little bit more vigilant with innovation. Like everybody loves technology, and we love. I mean, there's a lot of things about AI, innovation, technology, and other things that are actually helping us in terms of automation, in terms of actually making our jobs easier, and some of the nuance work, if you will, can be done through generators and all that stuff. So there is a lot of good to this. I think that what we need to do, though, is be very vigilant about what we can actually do as a society, but and also as technologists or whatever. So I mean, I look at like detection mechanisms. Again, these are going to be mainstream at some point. We're going to have to sort of consider that and run different things through generators to say, is this real? Is this fake? What's happening here? We need to have, like you said, liveness detection. So, whether it's like sort of, some sort of like training or whatever for different people to make sure that they are sort of, kind of making it sure that this is like me. So I'm my unique self and I need to prove somehow that I'm my unique self. There's so many things with biometrics and all those other things, but we still have to go back to the basics of cybersecurity as well, right? So, some issues can be maintained or prevented if we're just using, what I call good security hygiene, education, training, and awareness, which I know Maryam's gonna, love to talk about, and other things such as technology and detection and patching and all of the normal things that we normally would do for our systems and networks, and have a good relationship with our cloud hosted providers, and make sure too that like everybody's kind of working together to combat any issues that we see. And I mean, there's a lot of proofing, there's a lot of different like I guess legacy things that we should probably start to. We always say that like get rid of your legacy equipment, get rid of this, get rid of that in order to prevent attacks. I think that we still we need to get our houses in order to make sure that we are set up for this. But educating and having people understand the pitfalls of these issues and to be cognizant of that is very important.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I normally say, if you don't train people, you don't blame them for what they don't know, and that's where the awareness comes into play. I think it needs to be like a collective. Both the government, the policymakers, and the individual, they need to like start creating awareness that push. Here in Africa, like I use Nigeria, we need to push for digital literacy. Everybody needs to know. We have to teach the people the ethic and before the critical thing before they can believe in something they see. Because a lot of them, anything they see on the social media, they think is true, they think is real, while it's not real. And I think we also need to start encouraging fact checking. People need to fact check things before they believe in it. Because when you see something on the internet, you have to like ask yourself, I say, stop and think. Stop and think. Ask yourself some critical question. Is this true? Just ask yourself a question before you can be able to like, okay, let me start sharing, because you see the spam sharing, any information on the internet that people just see that has that trigger of urgency, before you know it spread like wildfire. And I think the fact checking is going to go a very quick, long way. And I think again, the government needs to enact the freedom of expression and protection from digital harm. A lot of people, yes, one would know where your right stops, that's where another person's right begins. So you don't just share anything that you know is going to cause harm, because a lot of fake news, fake videos that have been shared here in Nigeria has caused a lot of damage, reputational damage on allies here and a lot of people fall victims of it. So I think it is a collective responsibility between the government, the individual, and the people. The individual, the people, the government, and the stakeholders. We all need to put all hands on deck to make sure that we are able to curb this menace, because it's not going to end anytime soon, but we just have to put mitigation strategies, because AI is here. AI has come to stay. Organization, institution are adopting and adapting it. So we just have to know how to start creating awareness. A lot of awareness needs to do, because you'll know, according to statistics in the cybersecurity, 90% of security breach are caused by human error. So, and that human, we all need human firewall. And I think we need to start now. Thank you so much.
No, I think you brought up some amazing points. Like I think about maybe the older generations who are not digitally literate as much as maybe the younger generations who grew up with the technology, and just the amount of, upskill that we have to think about, like how do we better warn them, okay, these are the things that we're seeing, here's how to verify that this information is real, because it's intimidating when you think about just spam calls, like the old school spam calls. They're
And they
still
still
so
work.
successful. Yeah, they still
Yeah.
work. And now they're like, well, it's video, and it's that whole, if I see it, it's more real. And I think we've got this huge gap in how do we bring that digital literacy up to safeguard our more vulnerable, demographics. And I don't know what the
Yeah.
answer is to that, but
I don't know either, because I mean, like my mother was here, and we were trying to sign up for an election or something like that. And you think about the multi-factor identification, biometrics, facial recognition, all this stuff. And it was just like hilarious to actually try to walk her through some of this. And I think that these, different demographics in the world don't necessarily have the same level of, cognizance of technology and how to actually safeguard themselves. And this is an issue. Like that's the reason why, like, smishing and phone phishing and all these other things are still very, very relevant and still work really, really well, right? So yeah. So I'm just like wondering, like, I mean, how are we in terms of like mitigating, like what is something, like some of the takeaways that we would say, that we should be doing to sort of mitigate, digital synthetic digitalization, fake news, disinformation, misinformation, and how we should, sort of like educate ourselves and then educate everybody else, like if we have an issue, what's our next steps, really?
yeah, I think part of it's that prevention. I think we touched upon that earlier, where it's we have to be aware of what are the different tools accessible to us if we need to verify, is this real? Has this been tampered with from an AI perspective? And understanding, like, here's the different ways, folks are dealing with this. And I think that's a big part of kind of going back to the community of, putting ourselves around folks, or reaching out to folks that maybe are more skilled in this, or who've done something that's worked effectively, and learning from them, and kind of sharing that. I think it's, about how do we just baseline understand that we have to do, there's more of an onus on us to do that verification, and, be careful about what we're sharing, because, oh, maybe it sounds good or it looks good at first glance, but we could be contributing to that spread of disinformation. Um, and then just making sure, and I think you had mentioned it earlier about going back to our legacy, environments, what other controls do we need to put in place, that will help us better verify these types of things, be it looking at where these devices, or where these videos, or these connections are coming from. The more information we have, I think it'll be easier for us to at least make some generic decisions around, hey, okay, well, this person's selling from a really foreign country, you know, is this person who they say they are, are they impersonating someone local, or looking for, for example, the new thing I hear is when you interview folks and they're supposed to be local, ask about local things, kind of that common knowledge that maybe is not so easily found. And just doing that due diligence, I think, are some things that we're starting to see, like, huge, requirements for. And of course, that ongoing learning curve in cybersecurity, where, you know, we have to stay on top of, here's the latest attacks or the latest types of techniques you're using. Okay, let's go back and think about, okay, how does this relate to us and what are the things that we can do to combat these things? I don't know, Maryam, if
Abs-
you've got stuff to add, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's why we encourage people not to share too much on social media. If you must share, limit what you share on social media, because that's the things, the content you put out there, that's what they use to create the deep fake against you or against anybody. So that's how you have to, if you must share, don't share too much. Normally we like, that's what we advise people. And before you believe, that's where the zero trust, don't trust anything. Like we have to like keep creating that awareness. Zero trust, don't trust. If you must trust, verify before you trust. I think that's going to also go a very long way. And I hope, and like those AI developers, if they can be able to, though I've come across one too, where you can be able to use to verify if an image is AI generated. Though of recent, I saw LinkedIn put it out, any generated image, you see they put CR, but lately they stopped putting that. So I hope if developers, AI developers are also, as they are doing this AI too, as they are developing these AI tools, they should also develop an AI detection tool that can be able to detect deep fake videos, deep fake photos. And I think this is also going to go a very long way in curbing that.
I think too, like, I mean, we do a lot of really good stuff about educating probably our own, organizations and departments and, and all that stuff. But I mean, public awareness is so important, right? Like, I mean, just a general public awareness. And I don't know, like, I mean, I think to myself, like, how do we actually get that word out there to say, don't trust everything that you see? It's really important. And I mean, as they develop and improve upon different synthetic type of technologies, like it's good to sort of have those detection mechanisms in place so that we could easily determine whatever. So I mean, I even think about things like, chat GPT and all these other things where we're, lots of discussion around everybody's using and leveraging, sort of these chatbots right now to probably, gather information, do research meaningfully and all that other stuff. But it could also be used in other different ways, right? So how do we actually detect what's real and what's not real, even in terms of not just deepfake, but even information, right? Because I mean, with more and more information being plugged into these bots, then the question is do we have data poisoning? Do we actually believe what's actually being outputted here? And then how do we detect that? So like I certainly would hope that something wouldn't go to an executive that was just coming at a chat GPT kind of thing. So, I mean, how do we actually fact check these types of things as well? So, I mean, those are all very important things. And now it's not only just like what we see on mainstream media, what we see sort of out there, kind of like globally with, political campaign disinformation, and all that other stuff with key figures, but it's also about just our regular everyday work and how we're actually doing, what are we doing to sort of make sure that everybody's kind of like doing the right thing from an ethical perspective and from a perspective of learning, but also being mindful that not everything you see is real. Not everything that's written on paper is real, or written on digitally, not on paper. That's old school. That's me. But anyways, I mean, really we have to start thinking about that. So how do we educate? How do we actually, put more literacy into things? I mean, I would love to see disclaimers about things saying, use this wisely, but again, beware, this may not be completely, true information and information that could be used as a legitimate source, right? So, long are the days of footnoting and actually giving credit and everything like that for for people that have actually wrote many things over the years. I guess that now we're sort of using everything, so there's like copyright infringement and all these other things probably that's happening as well. So, I think about a lot of that stuff and how we actually are combating us. So, I mean, when we think about our skills and profession in cybersecurity, where are we kind of like, what would we recommend to folks that are coming into the profession or into the area of cybersecurity that may want to have a better understanding of, how they can contribute and what they can do to better, the recognition of some of these different issues that we're seeing today? I don't know if somebody wants to jump at that, but I'm just putting it out there.
All right. Okay. So I think those that are trying to like join. Okay. So those that are trying to like join the cybersecurity ecosystem, one thing I know, one thing I normally told them is that don't be in a hurry to learn everything at the same time. Don't be in a hurry. Cybersecurity is very vast. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's a marathon, to be sincere. You just have to take it one at a time. And before you go, because a lot of people are coming with the mindset that cybersecurity, there are a lot of money there, people get a lot of money. If you're coming into cybersecurity to come and make money, to be sincere, you're not going to make the money because you are going to get frustrated because the journey is not easy. Yeah, you're going to get frustrated and go. But when you come, because cybersecurity is about helping humanity to stay safe, you're helping individual, you are helping organization, you are helping everybody. So you don't put that money in place. So one step at a time. Instead of you trying to learn 50 things at a time, learn one thing 50 times. Be very good with that
good
thing
advice.
before you move forward. And I always advise, before you dive into cybersecurity, get yourself a mentor. A mentor is going to make your journey more easier, more smoothly, and at the end is going to worth it. So I think that's the leader I would say. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's a
no,
really good point. Yeah. Go ahead,
yeah, no, I
Andrea.
love that. And I think, because we're at a Canadian Women in Cybersecurity event or a Women in Cybersecurity event, I think just the nature of a lot of women actually lends itself really well to this type of area of cybersecurity. Because when you think about verification, you know, how do we use critical thinking and how do we look for those little signs, that gut feeling? And I feel like women got this great gut feeling of, yeah, something sounds a little off or looks a little off. And those critical thinking skills, are the great basis, be it going into threat intelligence, where you're looking at all the signals and trying to correlate. And, I'm thinking about how we read all these great stories about women kind of on the front lines, looking at threat information during war times and stuff like that, and making those important correlations. Or maybe it's about the data, looking at these data flows and saying, this doesn't sound right or this doesn't look right and things like that, and bringing that other perspective. I mean, for me, one of the greatest things about working in cybersecurity is you don't have to come from a security background. I didn't. I came from a marketing background. So bringing all these different unique backgrounds, be it in law enforcement, be it in all these other areas, it's such a great way to bring those cross skills to this field.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I came from a fairly technical background, and I remember reading code and interpreting code and, hex and everything like that. And I mean, really when we think about sort of like, synthetic media, disinformation, fake news, whatever. I mean, I think now I look back on that and I'm like, yeah, that kind of could come in handy now. Digital forensics, incident response, like all those things are really important because we're going to have issues no matter which way you look at it, right? So, I think it's really important to for folks to sort of branch out in their career and look at different things, and what you've both said is so vital, but at the same time too, like sort of set your sights higher to see where you actually want to go. Do you want to move into more of the analytics? I mean, I agree with you, Andrea. I think that we're really, really good with our intuition and our analytical skills. And I think that we always have that sort of feeling that something is right or not right. So, women have so much to offer to this field for sure. And there's so many opportunity out there for cyber. There's so many different types of roles that you can take on. And I mean, when you think about every new technology, every type of innovative situation that we see, we also have to look at the counter side of that from a holistic, cybersecurity threat risk perspective. And so, I always say the same thing. There's no shortage of work out there for anybody. So I think that we might have a question. Do we? I just want to see quickly if we did. Oh, okay. So I think there's two questions in here. Maybe let's see if I can get them read out real quick. Thank you, Sherry, Andrea, and Mary, for sharing your insights with us. Sometimes we struggle with the simplest concepts of even convincing folks not to write down passwords. So I guess the struggle is not new. AI can seem very exciting to many and has many benefits too. How can we convince them to do their due diligence in protecting themselves without creating a sense of fear around it? I don't know. I think we're almost on time, but we can certainly answer those questions as well if we are at time. But if anybody wants to take a stab at it.
I would say, again, looking at new technology is an opportunity that comes with risks, and we have to understand kind of both sides of that coin. I mean, we could live in fear of AI and all these new technologies, but I think as long as we understand the impact that they have to our lives and to our organizations and to our society, we don't necessarily have to be afraid of them, but we just have to be aware of kind of the impacts that they have.
Marion?
Yeah, I think that everything that has a positive, like there's a negative and there's a positive. So just try to weigh it to see which one outweigh each. If it is a negative, if the positive, then you just go with it. But I think with AI is here to stay. As I said earlier, organizations are adopting and adapting it. A lot of people have that fear that AI is going to take the job, AI is going to take the job. No, AI is not taking your job, but the person that knows how to use AI is definitely going to take your job. So just learn the AI and be of relevance.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I'm not sure. Are we on time? Should we? Okay. So I think we can answer the second question. How can I effectively challenge or correct disinformation when the person believing it holds more influence, authority, or power than I do? Well, that's quite an interesting question because I guess we would have to have more context on that. But again, too, I think that everybody has a role to play in correcting and challenging information that's false. I think that it's really important because we all have access to social media. We all have access to different authorities or whatever to be able to report these kinds of things. Anybody else have anything to say?
Yeah, I think, well, that's what you say. Everybody has his own different perspective, but if the person still keep that, if you have your facts, you can show him the facts. So if he cannot believe in the facts, then you leave him with, since he's more influence and has more authority than you, some things are meant to be left the way they are.
Absolutely. So any closing one-liner to say to everybody out there to give a tip?
I would just say, if this is an area of security that you're interested in, like go out and look on LinkedIn, find the experts in your field, network with them and just go out and kind of learn as much as you can. There's just so much great information out there on this topic. And if you want to build a career, like this is a great emerging type of area of security that, we're going to need a lot of thought leaders down the road. So, you can get in kind of on that ground floor while we're all kind of learning it, I think.
Absolutely. So what I would say is that coming to cybersecurity ecosystem is nothing that is difficult. I transitioned. I was a teacher before diving into the cybersecurity ecosystem. So all you need is just make sure you get your 3 C's right. Get your clarity, get your community, and get your commitment. When you get these 3 C's right, you're going to flourish and you're going to make wave in the cybersecurity ecosystem. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I always say believe in yourself and shoot for the stars. All right. Thank you so much, ladies. And it was so wonderful to meet both of you because I'm amazed that we haven't met before. And always wonderful to have these sessions with CyberX and women in cybersecurity. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.